Hi guys, Blake here today with Lilley's Landing Resort and Marina on beautiful Lake Taneycomo. It is Tuesday the 17th of May and I'm going to do the one cast for you today. And today I am back down on the lower lake. Not quite as low as last time, but we are sitting over here in what they call one of the gold mine sloughs. Today I have on a watermelon candy weightless worm with like a 3/0 hook. And we are gonna fish the front side of this slough here and see if we can find a bass. Let's see. Started off, the sun just popped out not too long ago. It's been a little bit lower on the temperatures, in the 70s. While it was cloudy, it might be getting just above 80 now. Nothing officially on the first cast. There was a chance for rain earlier today, but it actually never came. It's about 4:30 in the afternoon. And what I'm doing with this weightless worm, this area we're fishing back here probably doesn't have many spots that are deeper than 5 or 6 foot. And so I am just slow retrieving this thing, letting it sink to the bottom, kind of popping it up and then letting it just slowly wiggle its way back down. And the other day when I was back here, it seemed like they were taking it when you really let it sink all the way back down. Oh, there's a hit. When I'm detecting a hit, you have a lot of slack line when you're doing this, so you just kind of carefully watch your line, and when it jumps, that's usually when they're taking off and running with it. And because you have that hook buried into the side of the skin of the worm, you've got to set the hook pretty hard to get it out there into their mouth. Ooh, there was a hit. Sometimes if you let them run with it for a second, you can get a better hook set as well. Really let them take that line. One of the biggest bass I've hooked into on Taneycomo is actually right back here on that side, along this grass line. And I want to say I was using a very similar weightless worm. There we go. That time I saw him take the line and I really let him run with it. Here, buddy. Not a big one, but their colors sure are pretty back here. And right now I'm just kind of, while the sun's still high, I'm just kind of concentrating on all these shaded areas. Oh. I even like to lay my line down kind of closer to the boat on the water, so that if it does start running or jumping, it's a little easier to see than trying to look at it farther out on the water. But when you're working a weightless worm, it's a lot of patience. There's another one. Getting a little bigger. Ooh. Lots of yearlings back here. They may not even be a year old yet. Oh, missed another one. Oh, I'd say there's a decent little pocket of them right over here on the shaded bank. I actually stopped by Bee Creek on my way here, because Bee Creek's another one of those sloughs that's pretty shallow and it's got a lot of grass in it. And it's another spot I've done well with this method. And I imagine a little smaller Ned rig or even a wacky style worm, which is where you take this worm and hook the center of it and it kind of breathes as you bring it back in. All those things would work great in these spots. There we go. Alright, they're all about the same size here. They really have just great coloration on this lake. He's short and fat. There you go, buddy. Oh, I had another one on. He took it as soon as it landed. I wasn't even sure if it was still sinking or what was going on there. Right now, this slough, honestly, it goes back for quite a ways, over a quarter of a mile, without a doubt. And I'll bet you could find fish all the way back there. I'm seeing another little school of bass coming to the surface right in front of me. I'm not making big movements. I'm just making enough to make that worm come up off the bottom a little bit and then let it slowly sink back down. Giving it little twitches. Sometimes there's nothing like getting a reaction than with a weightless worm. Just take some patience. Oh my gosh, no way. That is one hungry sunfish. I don't know what he was gonna do with that if he got that all the way in his mouth. I've gotten some pretty good bass using this weightless worm, even throwing it up on top of these floating moss pads and just kind of twitching it on the moss pad, and then as soon as it gets to the edge of the moss pad, you let it drop and sink. And you can catch some bass doing that. Fishing report wise, on the upper end of the lake, I haven't really got to talk to any of the guides today. I know Jeremy Raznick took 2 trips today, and I just got a picture that they, I don't know how they caught it. I'm assuming they snagged it, but they had a big old spoonbill on the boat, which brings me to what I saw in Bee Creek. There was a live spoonbill, probably 3.5, 4 foot long. I saw it swimming against the bank, so I got a little closer because I knew there was no way it was a bass. But there was a live spoonbill back in Bee Creek. Oh wow, there's a lot of fish over there. Oop, I had one on. If you can find these schools of bass back here, you can usually at least get one of them to play. There's a big school of them out in front of me, about 30 yards. Try putting a cast in there. Oop, my worm came undone. With these worms, you can, once they start getting wore out, you can just kind of pinch some off of the front and then find new spots to hook the worm through. It doesn't have to be the full length. Oh, missed him. Oh, I missed that one too. Yeah. There's a few ways you can hook these. I try to skin hook it, which means once you stick it down that 1/4 inch and twist it onto the shank of the hook, you just go through the side of the skin of the worm. Try to keep the hook not exposed, but you want it in a position that when you set the hook, it doesn't take much to come out of the worm. If I was fishing some heavier brush or cover, I would hook it directly up through the fattest part of the worm. And make it to where if it ran over some sticks or brush that it wouldn't just hook directly into them. Ooh. Well, they're definitely active back here in this slough. I'd say water temperature is probably 75 degrees or so. Sorry guys. Let's see which way the camera was pointed. bet you that bluff is a couple 100 feet tall, and on top of that, a few 100 feet away from me. And that guy calling his dog sounds like he's standing right next to me. Anyway, a few of the guys at the resort said that were renting a boat from us said they were doing pretty good on scuds. There's another one. I'm thinking that some of these bass that are trying to get this are just maybe a little too small, even though that bluegill proves that any fish could get the hook. I will say that these fish back here can get a little spooky if you get your boat too close to where they're at. I seem to always catch them whenever I cast a little farther away from the boat. There we go. Yep, I knew some of those bass over there that were playing were a little smaller. Alright, this is one of those examples where I'm going to pinch off a new section of the worm to work with here. That part was getting so beat up it just wasn't holding the hook anymore. But there are a lot of sloughs that I haven't even tried yet on this lake. Ones that match the same kind of parameters at the same depths and big moss beds and grass growing. And I'll bet you anything that they all have bass in them. There we go. There's the PR for the day. I know we're catching a lot of small ones right now, but I have hooked into my biggest one back here and a few 3 and 4 pounders. So where there's small fish, there's big fish. There's a hit immediately. Oh, he was on there. I don't know if I mentioned it, I've got 12-pound monofilament on this rod right now. Last year I came down here when the topwater bite was real good. There's another one. Ooh, he might contend with the last one for big fish of the day. And there goes my worm. Come on, buddy. Alright, gotta get a new worm. But I was using 6-pound tests with a frog, and I probably had 3 separate bass that were in the 5 and 6 pound range that just came up and completely destroyed my bait and broke the line. So this year I'm not playing around and I'm going to use some heavier stuff. Alright, I put a little bit different color worm on here, but that didn't seem to matter. I hit it immediately. Golly. Alright, let's see if I can set the hook this time. There we go. I was talking to Steve Rohrback, and he said last night they actually, I saw him swipe at that. He said last night they caught some on the KVD jerkbaits and some flicker shad. He said the bite was really good up by the dam using both of those things. We're going to come over here and throw in the edge where I Had that big one on last year. Maybe he's still sitting there. And this will be one of my last casts. Oh, there was a fish. Oh, there we go. He's not quite as colored up. Over here you got a few more of the floating moss pads, but you just work that bait on top and then let it sink off the front side of them. Alright, here it is. Here's my last cast. Oh, alright, I can't resist throwing one more. Oh, there we go. That might be the big one for the day. Yeah. That's why we take a last cast. Now we're getting into the pound range. Maybe a little bit heavier. Alright, nah, he's not quite a pound. Close though. Alright guys, well, there's a little bass fishing for you today. And we thank you for watching. Like and share us on Facebook. And we'll be out here to do it for you again tomorrow. Thanks guys.